Welcome to the Austin Zaback Show, where every guest is meant to leave listeners inspired and motivated, propelling them to pursue their passions and live up to their full potential.
How many total books have you published in now?
I have over 200 books. I started off as a beginner and trying to make money online. I was failing in multiple businesses before this, and then I found publishing or Amazon KDP.
I feel like younger entrepreneurs aren't writing as many books as the older generation.
Kind of the way we consume media is changing. Books were one way of doing so, and then now it's kind of changing to videos, short form content, and it's slowly shifting that way. You get so much organic traffic from Amazon. So then you have a bunch of books ranking in different keywords, and now you're making some serious passive income.
Welcome back to another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. Today we have Sean Dollwet on the podcast, and man, I'm excited to have you here, bro. I know that we're going to dive into it here in a little while, but we have some mutual connections, and you're actually now partnered up with New Reach, which is an education company owned by Josiah Grimes, which is a longtime buddy of mine. And you're starting, or have already started, a brand called Royalty Hero, which is helping entrepreneurs, correct me if I'm wrong, get into self-publishing and becoming an author. And I could be totally wrong there, but either way, we'll dive into it in the podcast. And I appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
excited to be here.
So talk to me. How did that all come to be? I mean, Josiah and New Reach, they run a pretty large company over there, and they launched. So for anybody who doesn't know, I guess I'll fill the viewer in. So Josiah Grimes, the buddy of mine, he's been a buddy of mine for a long time. Love you, bro, if you're watching. And Josiah built a company essentially called New Reach, right? And what New Reach does is they help brand faces build education platforms. So they've helped Pace Morby, they've helped Jamil Damji. People are familiar, Sub2, Astro Flipping, Jack McCall with credit stacking. And many, many other brands, actually, many of which I'm not even familiar with. And you're one of the brands that they're going to be helping you build, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So how did that come to be?
So basically the story is I already had a program myself. I was making money publishing, and I think it's a very good business model for beginners. So I started off as a beginner and trying to make money online. I was failing in multiple businesses before this, and then I found publishing or Amazon KDP. Started making money, and after a couple of years, I kind of expanded into YouTube and teaching that. And from there, I had my own program. And after a year or so of having my own program, basically met Nick Fisher, Josiah, and just we kind of talked a little bit. They said, or they saw potential in publishing, so we decided to partner up and kind of scale that further. So that's kind of how we started. Yeah,
it's super cool, dude. Yeah. Nick is. I love Nick.
Yeah, cool guy.
Really good dude. Really, really smart individual for sure. So what is Amazon KDP for people who don't know?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people know Amazon FBA, which is just selling physical products on Amazon. Amazon KDP is it's kind of the same thing, but you do that with books. So you self-publish books. You're able to sell it right on Amazon, and you make royalties from it.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because I think a lot of people for a long time were familiar with like Amazon drop shipping, and then it was like Amazon FBA. I remember like back in the day, I don't know if you remember like Tanner J. Fox from like a long time ago. Yeah, he was a good buddy of mine back then when he was crushing it. And then I feel like Amazon like drop shipping took off, right? Which was like obviously against Amazon rules, but everybody got into it.
Yeah.
Everybody's accounts got shut down, right? And then, so now you have KDP. So KDP is just for books.
Yeah, KDP stands for Kindle Direct Publishing. So it's basically publishing on Kindle, although you can do paperback, you can do audiobook, you can do hardcover. So there's many different formats. So yeah, dropshipping was like the hype a couple years ago. And I think KDP is like the next big thing coming up, but who knows, maybe I'm biased because I'm teaching it, but
yeah,
yeah.
For sure. So talk to me about that world, right? Like break that down for me a little bit, because I don't know a ton about the book world or the Kindle world or the publishing world, really that world at all. Like, how did you get into that? How do people get into that? Like, what does that world look like? Like, paint that picture for me.
Yeah, so it mainly started as for authors and writers to publish their books. much easier than going through like a traditional company, traditional publishing house, right? And going through a traditional company, they take a lot of royalties from you. Like, the cut is they take 90% off, then you get 10% left. You're barely making money. And the stuff that they do for you isn't much. It's a lot of things like, creating book covers, formatting. The traditional publishing companies, they help with that, but you can do that yourself a lot easier now. And you can keep 100% of your royalties. So a lot of people are transitioning to self-publishing for that reason. You have more control. But as a business model, I'm not a writer. I'm originally from Japan. English is my second language. I'm not a very good writer. But I wanted to make money online when I was around 2021. At this point, I was like failing in multiple business models, trying to make money online. And then one day I just looked up on YouTube, like how to make money online. And then I found this video of this guy talking about Amazon KDP as one of the most beginner-friendly business model to get started with. So at this point, I'm like, I had nothing to lose. So I'm like, all right, I'll try it out, follow his methods. I'll publish one book. And I published that book, made $300 from it. And just like that, I'm like, this is the first time I made money online. This is crazy. It was like way easier than other business, models that I tried. So I'm like, I'm going to keep going. So I published a second book, did a little better, third book, and so forth. And been doing that for close to 8 years now.
Wow.
So the cool thing about publishing is even though you're not a writer, there's a lot of ways to publish a book, like using ghostwriters or having other people write the book for you. Or, nowadays it's like AI can write a lot of the book for you. So that's kind of how the business model works in general.
I feel like people are very... I feel like people don't understand like what you just talked about, right? Like we live in a world where, I don't know if you know this, but the majority of the views that we get are from people that are not subscribed. So do me a huge favor and subscribe if you like the podcast so far. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's just go ahead and get back to the interview. Books scare people, like even entrepreneurs. Like I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs. I've had a lot of people on the podcast that. I've actually had multiple people on the podcast that are authors, that have written a book, right? And they always make it seem like it's this like crazy process and like it takes like forever and ever and ever and like you don't get any sleep for 2 years and like that whole thing, Yeah. So for you to sit here and say you've published multiple books, like obviously there's other ways to do it. The world is advancing, to your point, AI, et cetera, ghostwriters. What was the first book that you published? Like, what was it about?
Yeah, so the first book that I published was on mindfulness, just because I was kind of, learning about the topic. It was a super short, I think it was like 40 page, not even 40 page long. And it was about mindfulness. It did make $300 the first month, and then it died off because I got a lot of bad reviews because, it was a short book. It wasn't even good quality. So that's kind of the thing that you have to keep in mind is you do have to publish quality books so that you can have longevity and income. But it doesn't have to take years to produce those kind of books that gets 4 or 5 star reviews.
Yeah. So then what was the second book that you published?
Good question. I don't remember actually.
Really?
I think it was something to do with some kind of self-help topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember.
So how many total books have you published in now? Do you know?
Total, yeah, I have over 200 books.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where you're the author of all of them or other people are the author?
So I got a few books that I published under my name. To be completely honest, I'm not proud of it because it's also not that good of a book. It got some bad reviews. The idea is I was trying to use my books as lead generation to my other business that I had, trying to make money from affiliate programs or selling coaching, which, if you have an existing business that's like all the people you interviewed on podcasts who wrote a book is probably using the book for that, right? It's like business cards on steroids. It's like lead generation. For us, we're actually making money directly from the book. But yeah.
So then the majority of the 200 that you've published were for other people then?
No, it's for me, but it's published under a pen name. Yeah.
So explain that to me.
Well, using a pen name is a very common practice. Like J.K. Rowling is a pen name. So it's pretty normal. But a lot of times, like if you want to build your own brand, you can publish under your name. And it's great because it opens up a lot of opportunities. Like you can get invited to podcasts like this. You can do a lot of speaking gigs, sell your coaching program, stuff like that. But, a lot of people don't want to do that for whatever reason. So you can publish under a pen name and still make money from it.
And like, how does that vary from like going, when we look at, fiction versus nonfiction, right?
Yeah.
And we think of like that, for example. How is that different than like a pen name?
Well, pen name applies to both fiction, nonfiction. If you're doing children's books, maybe if you're just publishing like activity books, same thing. I would say like the majority of people use pen names, but it's really up to you.
Yeah. But like, what's the purpose of a pen name? Just to hide your identity? But wouldn't people still know?
Yeah, people still know. I feel like, if you're publishing books, that let's say like, you're like, if you publish a book on 50 Shades of Grey, right? Or like that, then you would maybe want to use a pen name. But I don't know. I mean, if you publish multiple books, let's say like, I have a book in self-help, but then I want to kind of publish a book in different genre because it looks profitable and I know that I can make a good book on it. But it's weird if I put it under my name because people will see like, oh, this guy have a book on business, but also in self-help. It's kind of all over the place. And that's why you can kind of categorize it. Like this pen name covers this niche and this pen name covers this niche kind of thing.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah. So then walk me through what you're working on now. Obviously now, you're getting into helping other people, correct me if I'm wrong. People could be people like me, could be people like people watching. Right. But is it that like what will that teach? Is it to help people self-publish? Is it to publish for them? Like what exactly is going to be Royalty Hero? What will that entail?
Yeah, so I still publish myself. I will keep doing that, but I do teach people how to do that too. And the goal is obviously, if you're a writer, you have a book that you want to publish, we'll show you how to do that. But we pretty much focus mainly in the marketing side of publishing because a lot of people can tell you, how to upload a book on Amazon, KDP, and then become a self-published author. That's the easy part, but actually making money from the book, understanding how to rank the book on page 1 of Amazon so you're getting sales from there, how to market it, how to get reviews, how to actually know that, people are looking for that kind of book, doing market research beforehand. Those kind of things, like more marketing side of the business, we try to focus on, and that's what we teach in Road to Hero.
Got it. So you basically will educate somebody on how to do the entire thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the advantage of doing that versus just going and hiring somebody?
You could. I mean, I'm a big believer in hiring others to do the work for you. But I feel like you have to have some sort of understanding before you hire out, or else you're not going to be able to quality check anything. Like people can tell you that, oh, everything is going well, we're doing this and that, but then like if you're not even sure how that works, then how do you know if they're doing a good job or not? That's why I feel like some sort of baseline education is important.
Yeah.
But after that, if you don't want to do the work yourself, you can definitely hire someone to do it for you.
But then is the downside to that back to your original point of them taking a huge cut of the profit?
Yeah.
Like, are they always going to do that, or is there like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you say hiring other people, do you mean going through a publishing house, or it's just like there's other services that'll help you publish a book, but through self-publishing, so they're not taking as huge of a cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess either, right? Like those are the different tiers. I feel like you have the publishing house, which is going to be like, correct me if I'm wrong, like the top echelon, like done for you type thing, kind of, right? Obviously, you still have a lot of work to do, but they're going to take the most, right? And then you kind of have that middle ground of like what you're talking about, where it's not a full publishing house. They are going to help you do different things, but at the end of the day, you're self-publishing, right? Yeah. And then you've got like what you're doing, which is like the route probably for people that they keep the majority of the revenue of their book. But they do more of the heavy lifting, right?
Yeah, I think it depends on your goals. If you have an existing business, you're super busy working in the business, you're just using your books as lead gen, if you're using it as just increasing credibility to what you're already doing, and you don't want to deal with any of the process, then maybe going through a publishing company and have that part outsourced makes sense. You're not going to be making much from the book royalties itself, but it's going to build your brand.
Sure.
But if you want to actually make money from the books, which is like what we actually do, because the great thing is like once your book ranks on Amazon, it becomes kind of passive income. It's like digital real estate. You know, you do real estate, so you understand. You know, like it keeps collecting rent checks on Amazon because it occupies a spot, right? So if you want that, then maybe you should go the self-publishing route.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Talk to me about like why don't more entrepreneurs? I feel like younger entrepreneurs aren't writing as many books as the older generation. Am I wrong on that?
I think so. I think it's just kind of the way we consume media is changing. You know, books were one way of doing so, and then now it's kind of changing to videos, short form content, and it's slowly shifting that way.
Yeah. Why though? I mean, like, so then what's the future of paperback?
Yeah, good question. I mean, paperback is actually still the best selling products, or that's where we make most of the money. So there's still a huge audience there. But I would think that ebooks and audiobook is going to pick up and that'll flip eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think, so like it now going into 2024 and beyond, like, do you ever see a day where paperbacks aren't popular, or do you think that there will always be people who will read them and buy them and want to buy them, want to sit down on their couch, pull out the paperback and read the paperback, have a library, whatever, you know?
I think there's always going to be a market for paperback. Maybe it might be smaller, who knows? Maybe it'll make a comeback. You know, I feel like a lot of things, like back in the day people liked, that kind of faded away is making a comeback nowadays. Like maybe journaling, right? People love to carry around a journal. So, yeah, who knows? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I think that there's a lot of people in the world. Well, you know, go back to the research, right? And I don't know, don't quote me if you're watching, but there is scientific research, right, that'll say and suggest that reading a book, right, like it's the same thing as like taking notes on a piece of paper, right? Like they say that the act of holding a paperback in your hand and reading it, right, is actually going to increase the amount of information that you retain by like some stupid number. And then not only that, apparently, I've read different studies that it'll actually make you quite a bit smarter, you know, reading versus listening, right? So like, you know, I think we live in a day and an age where people are listening to the podcast. And don't get me wrong, I like listening to podcasts and all that crap too, right?
Yeah.
But there's something to be said about picking up a book and reading it. Are you familiar with any of the research?
The research that I've read actually talked about how like listening to it while you're reading at the same time increases comprehension like by far more than anything else.
I bet.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I do agree though. I mean, I feel like there's an audience for every format, you know?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. I like listening and reading it. I mean, dude, like when you do that, you can't really, it's hard to zone out, right? Like you're in the book.
Yeah.
You know, you're not somewhere else. I have a problem when I read. Sometimes when I read, it's hard for me to concentrate on what I'm reading, right? I'll be reading it and I'm not retaining anything. Like, you know, and then I have to keep going back to the top of the page, read it again, go back to the top, read it again. Then eventually I can get myself to kind of like focus and then I can go for a while, you know? But I really enjoy reading and I like the future of books. So talk to me a bit then, like, I'll give you an example. So Mark Victor Hansen, are you familiar?
Yeah.
Okay, he wrote, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he wrote all the Chicken Soup for the Soul. He's written a ton of books. So he's a buddy of mine, and he's been trying to get me to publish a book. And he wanted me to go actually the, fiction route, right? So he wanted me to go the other way. Fiction's not real, right?
Fiction's, not real.
Okay, yeah. So he wanted me to go fiction, okay? And he claims that, and again, Mark's a good buddy of mine, but he claims that fiction will sell, I think, he gave me some stupid statistic. Like, I don't even want to say it on here because people probably think I'm crazy, but I think it's like 1,000 to 1. Like, basically, if I were to write nonfiction versus fiction, fiction will sell 1,000 to 1.
Yeah.
Have you ever wrote fiction or helped anybody?
I don't do much fiction. I do nonfiction mainly. Do you know? I never really looked into Mark's work. Is Chicken Soup for the Soul real stories or is it fiction stories? Real stories, right? Okay, but he's still recommending fiction.
But real stories, but like, so I'll give you an example. So he told me, he's like, why don't you take your story, right, for your first book. So like my upbringing, kind of like my life story, right? Like how I got to where I'm at, trials and tribulations, everything, right? Hey, really quick, I'm sure you already know, but I've done over 2,500 wholesale deals in my career, and me and my team consistently do anywhere from 1 to 2 wholesale deals a day. If you're looking to get better at wholesaling, or maybe you're brand new, you've never wholesaled a deal, I would actually love to coach you. I would love to mentor you, and I would love for you to be a part of our education program. All you have to do is go to www.flippinsimple.com, or you can find a link in the description down below and book a strategy session with my team to see if you would be a good fit for our coaching program. Again, this is our exact strategy and formula of how we are actually able to go out every single day and do anywhere from 1 to 2 wholesale deals a day. Nobody's talking about what we're doing, and I really look forward to coaching you and mentoring you. So again, go to www.flippinsimple.com. Now let's just go ahead and get back to the show. And then, but turn it into a fiction. So you aren't the guy, right? Like it's like some other boy, some other being, right?
Yeah.
But it's bits and pieces of my story. So like at the end of the book, it would be credited to me, right? So it'd be like, oh, like Austin's like the guy that a lot of that story was about, right? Or whatever. And so have you ever dealt with anything like that?
No, but that sounds like kind of like Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know, like it's a fictional story, but there was an actual rich dad somewhere. Although they don't like mention who that is at the end of the book. The big difference between nonfiction and fiction, the reason why I do mainly nonfiction is because there's more SEO-based ranking that you can do. So like, you know, if you're looking for semi-passive income, which is like one of the biggest appeal when it comes to building a KDP business, is once your book ranks in certain keywords, you get so much organic traffic from Amazon. So then you have a bunch of books ranking in different keywords, and now you're making some serious passive income, right? So with nonfiction books, people search for a book based on keywords. Like, you know, if you want to, like, one of the best-selling nonfiction books is a book called How to Stop Overthinking. So that's a keyword-based title, right? So when people search for how to stop overthinking, you know, those books shows up. So if you rank high on that, like, you're making really good organic sales. With fiction, you have to run a lot of ads. But the good thing about fiction is like you get a lot of repeat purchases. So like if you publish romance books as an example, customers who read romance books, they keep reading one after another. Like they consume one book and then they're off to the next one because they just want to keep binging it, right? So it's kind of, it depends on what kind of books you like producing yourself, you know? And I just never really read fiction books or those kind of books in general. So I just stuck to nonfiction, which is what I grew up reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So transitioning a little bit, do you think that every entrepreneur should write a book?
I think it's beneficial. I don't think every single person should do it, but I feel like it does help a lot. Like, you know, especially because, like I said, it does add credibility to your business by publishing it. It does act as a lead magnet as well. Like, you know, Alex Hormozi, he published a couple books himself, and I feel like it's acting as a really, really good lead magnet to his, you know, back-end offers. Plus, it's making a lot of money from the book itself.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a time and place to it. Yeah.
Who shouldn't, in your opinion, write a book? You know, like you mentioned Alex Hormozi, right? And obviously, the guy, you know, he's worth what, $100 million? I think he sold Gym Launch for $100 million.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably worth $200 million. I don't know. But he's got a huge brand, right? He blew up out of nowhere. Alex, I feel like, is known for the guy who came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
A couple years ago, blew up on YouTube, blew up on Instagram, blew up on TikTok, right? Are there certain do you think that somebody should have to achieve some certain level of success or knowledge before they write a book?
No, I don't think so. Because obviously it will be bad if you try to teach something that, like, you know, if you write a business book without having that kind of experience, that'd be bad. But the way we do it is, like, you know, we actually hire, even if you're not writing the book ourselves, we hire ghostwriters that actually has experience in the topic of what we're trying to publish, right? That's how we get high quality product and then positive reviews from it. So if you want to publish a book, I feel like anyone can do it. You know, you can publish under a pen name. There's a lot of books that has nothing to do with having some sort of credibility. Like if you want to publish children's fiction stories, you know, I mean, you don't have to have any degrees or anything to publish it, right? So it could be just like a fun side project. So yeah, anybody who wants to do it, I feel like can.
Do you think there's certain niches that are way more saturated than others? Like entrepreneurship versus children's versus romance versus, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, nothing really comes to mind. I would say there's a pocket of, topics that's not saturated in any genre. Fiction probably is a lot more competitive just because there's only few fiction topics that are really profitable. Like if you start fiction publishing, like 90% of the audience is just basically consuming romance content. So if you're not writing romance, then the customer base is a lot smaller. But when it comes to nonfiction, there's a lot of different topics that you can go into.
Yeah. So you think that if you write a good enough book and you know what you're talking about, you have the kind of knowledge or the wherewithal to publish, right? You feel like you have the knowledge to give to somebody else, then you should just take the leap and write a book, pretty much.
If you want, and if you're interested in the business model.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, even outside of that, though, right? To your point, I mean, if you have another business or thing that you want credibility or, you want eyeballs or I feel like anybody in 2024 who's probably watching the podcast, like they have some other thing that they want to drive publicity to. They want to drive credibility to. They want to drive eyeballs to, right? So then, like, even if you didn't make any money with the actual book, right? Because, like, for me, if I were to write a book, I wouldn't necessarily be doing it for the money. Like, if I ended up making a lot of money writing a book, then it would just be like icing on the cake, Yeah. Like, for me, it would be more about everything else that you mentioned, right? It would be the credibility. It would be, like, the people knowing, like, the world knowing, like, oh, he's an author. He wrote a book, Like, that would be why I would do it personally.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's so many ways to use a book as if you're a business owner, once again, like you can make money off the book. You can use it as credibility. You can use it as like a front end of the funnel. So, like even Russell Brunson, right? He offers a free book and do like the free plus shipping offer and then sell the back end, right? So many things you can do if you do have a book. So I think it's a valuable asset in that sense.
Yeah. Talk to me about who inspires you. Like, you've mentioned now Russell Brunson, you've mentioned Alex Hormozi. Who are you looking up to in your world?
I try to pick like different information from a lot of guys. I don't really have an individual that I look up to the most, but definitely I definitely respect Alex Hormozi, Russell Brunson, Rich Dad Poor Dad. When I read that when I was like 18, helped me a lot and just completely shifting my mindset. So, yeah, I guess those guys.
Yeah. So then talk to me a little bit about your background. Like, how did you get into all this? You said you grew up in Japan. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so I grew up in Japan, and when I was 14, I moved to Hawaii. And when I was 18, I got recruited into multi-level marketing, and that's
what company?
When it was Vima.
Okay. I was in Vima too.
You were in Vima too?
Yeah.
I was sick. But I was terrible at it because English is my second language. I mean, even now I'm kind of stuttering here and there, but I was way, way worse, and I was very shy and very introverted and all that. So I didn't make any money in Vima, and then I switched to World Ventures after, but still same thing. I was struggling. And for 4 years straight, I tried different business models, and I still wanted to make money online, but I just kept failing until I found KDP. That's when I really started making money online.
How was it living in Hawaii?
Hawaii's nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why'd you move?
Hawaii's nice, but the cost of living is really high. And now I can definitely go back and live there because I'm doing much better. But I feel like after traveling, I found elsewhere that really makes me feel peace. Like, I started digital nomading. I went to Southeast Asia first. I went to Bali and then went to Malaysia, Vietnam, and, a couple different parts in Thailand. And so far, Thailand is my favorite. It's just very, very peaceful over there. And it's surprisingly that, just because it's cheaper, like a lot of people move there just for the cost of living. But I feel like it's not even about the cost of living, it's the quality of life. I feel depends on what you want, of course, but I feel for me, it offers a lot more than the U.S. With the things that I want to do. I like being in the nature. I like, that kind of food over there. I like the people that I'm, being surrounded by. There's a lot of digital nomads over there. So like if you're looking to connect with entrepreneurs, you can do so over there too.
Yeah.
So yeah, just the quality of life that I get.
You like Thailand over Bali?
Bali was a little crowded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were in like Canggu probably.
I was, yeah.
Yeah. I've been to Bali.
Yeah. Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked Bali. Yeah. Yeah. But I feel like you gotta drive. Like if Canggu and what's the other one? Seminyak?
Seminyak is the next one, yeah.
They're super crowded, right?
Yeah.
I feel like you have to go more, what would it be, like north or more west? I don't know. I'd have to look at a map. But if you get further away, then supposedly, you don't have as many people.
Next time I go back, I definitely want to check out those areas. Yeah, I was like right in the middle of Canggu and it was so busy. I'm trying to film a YouTube video and they got like construction right next door, and literally drilling all day long. And I'm like, fuck, so.
Yeah, you can't even do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you ended up going to Thailand. Did you actually live in Thailand for a while?
I have, yeah. So I lived in Thailand off and on for pretty much a year.
A whole year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can anybody go, like if I wanted to go to Thailand and just stay there for a couple of years, I could?
There's different visas. You can get an elite visa, so that allows you to stay for many, many years. Just from a tourist visa, you can basically go for 30 days and you can extend for another 30 days. So that's 2 months living there. And then you can just do border runs. So like leave and then come back. And you can do that a couple times in a year. If you do too much, obviously they're going to start questioning you. But for me, I was doing a couple months in Thailand and I checked out Malaysia, and then a couple months back in Thailand, checked out another place. So it wasn't really an issue.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you fell in love with it?
I do like the lifestyle. I think if you're trying to build a business, it's hard if you're traveling so often. Like for you got a big office here, and you're really building something amazing here. And it depends on the business model that you have, right? Like for me, KDP is it's all online, so I just need a laptop and a Wi-Fi. You might be sacrificing a little bit of productivity, but for me, the quality of life improved. So it's kind of like give and take.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of people that want to live that life though nowadays.
Yeah.
Like not as many people want to build what I'm building right now. More people I think want to go travel and be a solopreneur than be like a full blown entrepreneur. Because I'm running like 8 companies and we have 3 offices and we've got 200 people that work here.
Yeah.
So like I could travel for like a week and then everything's blowing up, and catching on fire. And, I got to like come home with a fire extinguisher to put it all out, right? But a lot of people don't want that anymore, I feel like. Like you have very, very few people. I think more people now, they want to make 300, 400, 500 grand, $1 million a year, whatever the number is, right? And they want to do it without really any overhead. They want to do it with a laptop. They want to go sit on the beach and like to your point, right? Like eat healthy, be in nature and like enjoy life, but make good money too, right?
Yeah.
And would you agree that like that's kind of what you kind of want to do, or what is your big vision now? Obviously with Royalty Hero and then everything that you're building.
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what I'm trying to do. Is I've made enough money at this point, and I've invested all, so I'm making enough from those investments that I don't really have to work anymore. And so I just want to, but I feel like working is important. You don't want to just like, there's studies out there where you people who retire and they die within like the first 5 years of retirement. You know? So I think working is important. I think what's important is you work on something you actually enjoy doing, maybe just a couple hours a day. I definitely work more than a couple hours a day because I like what I'm doing, but it's nice because I don't have to work if I don't want to, but I do because I like it, and I think just the fact that I have financial freedom, but also a lot of business out there allows you financial freedom, but they don't give you the time and location freedom. But it's nice to have the time freedom where I can just wake up whenever I want, work whenever I want, and the location freedom where I can go, pack up and go. And maybe I want to try living in this country, so I'm going to go there for a couple months.
Yeah.
So that kind of lifestyle is definitely something that I do feel like it's picking up. A lot of people want to try it out. It's pros and cons. Once again, you're not going to build your business as big as like millions and millions a year. I think it's very tough, although some people do it. But if that makes you happier, then maybe that's the answer.
It might be. Yeah. Not everybody, you don't need to make millions and millions a year. I mean, there's studies that show, I think after like 180 grand a year, 200 grand a year, depending on where you live, right? Like your quality of life doesn't get better after, I think it's like 200 grand a year, right?
Yeah.
And then it gets better again, I think at like 50 million. Like it's like there's this huge gap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like think of 200 grand. I mean, again, obviously, assuming you probably don't live in like New York City, it might be like 400 grand a year. But, a couple hundred grand a year, you can pretty much drive what you want to drive.
Yeah.
You can live where you want to live for the most part, right? Live pretty much in whatever apartment you want to live in. You can eat whatever you want to eat. If you want to eat grass-fed, grass-finished, whatever the hell you want to eat, right? And then, you pretty much travel, do whatever you want on a couple hundred grand a year, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people out there that they want to make like, if you're currently wholesaling real estate and you aren't using a CRM, then you're doing it wrong and you're leaving a ton of money on the table. We are one of the largest wholesalers in the nation, and by far the number one tool that we use every single day is a phenomenal CRM, right? And a CRM is obviously a customer relationship management tool that will keep track of all of your leads. It'll follow up with people on your behalf. Even if you have a 9-to-5, right? A good CRM will be working for you while you're working at your job. So when you come home, you have a bunch of people to talk to buy their property, okay? Now, obviously, we have a CRM. It is called Simple Send, and all you have to do is go to www.simplesend.com to check it out. It is by far my favorite CRM. We built it out over the years, and it will literally do everything you need it to do to become a phenomenal wholesaler. So go to www.simplesend, check it out, and I'm telling you, you will not regret it. 8 million a year, and it's like, well, you don't need to make 8 million a year to live the life that you want to live,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if it's just 100K a year, if you make this semi-passively just online and then you go to somewhere like Thailand, I mean, you're living like a king over there.
Yeah. Oh, freaking king. Yeah. For sure. Probably even on 80 grand a year, live like a king over there. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, what's your goal with you? I mean, you're building all these businesses, so where are you trying to go?
My goal isn't the money, so I've had the crap, I've had the stuff, I get excited about like small purchases now. I just bought a pistol over the weekend,
Nice.
Another gun. And that got me fired up. It's like $1,500, for everything, right?
Yeah.
So, I've like between all of our companies this year, we'll probably gross, I don't know, 15 million or something like that, and then next year we'll do more. It might be maybe 20 million. I don't know. Somewhere in that ballpark, though, I think is where we'll land this year, and I could care less. I mean, it's cool, but for me, it's more the game. Right? Yeah. Like I enjoy the game. I enjoy the art of people. I like seeing other people win, right? Because in order for my companies to do that kind of volume, people have to make a lot of money too. So I enjoy that kind of art of like helping people achieve their goals and taking somebody from, starting. I've had so many people come through my organization that started at like 30 or 35 grand a year, right? Like at the very bottom. And then they worked up, over time to 40 grand and then 50 grand a year and then 60 grand a year, then 70 grand a year, then 80 grand and 90 and 100 and it just kept going, right? And I've seen them go from 30, 40K a year to 200K a year, and I've seen and gotten to witness that evolution, which that for me is something that I really love and enjoy, right? And then I just love obviously playing the game of entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
But it isn't so much anymore about me like buying Lamborghinis and stuff. Like I don't really care, to be honest with you, like I live in an apartment right now. Like me and my fiance are actually going to downsize. Like we don't even, so like, I just don't care. Yeah. So, but again, that happened as a result of me going through that evolution. Right. So like I lived your life, I went from, being 18 to I bought my first Lamborghini when I was like 20, and then I bought another Lamborghini and then I had an Audi R8 and I traveled the world and I did all that. Right.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just was bored. I didn't really enjoy what I was doing anymore. And then I started going on like mission trips, like trying to figure out like, why the hell am I here on Earth, And, went on a bunch of mission trips and stuff. And then I kind of just decided to go a different route and then built what I built now, But yeah, man, I think what you're doing is super cool though. And I admire the hell out of it. And every so often I get that itch. I'm like, man, I just want to go to Thailand for a month, And I've told my fiance that before. I'm like, we should just go to Thailand for a month and just hang out, and not hang out, but like work somewhere else and see what that would be like, right? Like just take all the camera gear, take the freaking microphones, take everything, and see how much we could get done over there.
Yeah. Might be a good change of pace.
Yeah, for sure. Are you into the like personal development world, like anything like that, like going to, I don't know, meditation retreats, seminars?
I've done a little bit of seminars, not so much nowadays. I don't want to travel too much. I already travel so often. Every couple months I'm going to a new place. So I don't want to kind of squeeze in seminars in between, especially if it's in person. But yeah, I definitely read a lot of personal development books. That's kind of what allowed me to understand like what kind of structure I should have for a good nonfiction book. I think it helped in this business. But it's something that I don't really go to seminars. I just kind of practice myself. Just watching videos and stuff,
What do you charge now? So like if somebody wants to come work with you, they want to learn how to write a book, they want to figure it all out. Do you have like different packages? Like how do you guys go about that?
Well, I mean, I got a YouTube channel. It's free, obviously, to watch those videos. And I guess people can start there if they're interested in learning more. They can check out the course. The course is $2,000. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the only offer we got so far.
What's the biggest misconception when it comes to writing a book, in your opinion?
The biggest misconception, I think a lot of people think you have to be an authority in the subject to write a book. And depending on the niche, of course, yes. But, like I said, like if you're writing children's fiction books or those kind of books, like you don't have to be an authority. If you enjoy writing about the topic, then you can. So, anybody can write a book if you want to.
Yeah, it's super valuable when you think about it, right? I think the majority of people who don't take action, right, who paralysis by analysis type people are the people who, and even like somebody like me, right? Like I've accomplished quite a bit in my life, and I still, somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm like, nah, I can't write a book. I'm not worthy of that crap. You know what I mean? Like I got to do way more before I got to make 100 million before I can write a book. There's still that voice in the back of my head, right? Even after everything that I've built and everything that I've done, of like, what would I write a book about? What would you advise somebody to do in terms of that, right? So take somebody like me for an example, okay? Somebody might be watching and they're like me, okay? I own multiple companies that do different things. So I all the way from wholesaling real estate to retail real estate to flipping houses. I have an education company, I own a media company, and then a bunch of other crap that we do, right? Without getting into it all. What would I write a book about?
I would say whatever you want to write about, plus whatever has like demand or people are looking for. So I mean, it depends on the market, but I'm sure like everything you do, if it's a profitable business, there's a customer for it. So if you can simply look up on Amazon like what kind of books they're selling, like there's a lot of real estate guys publish real estate books, like Brandon Turner. Pace Morby just recently published a book, right? And I think it's selling really, really well as a book, but it's also acting as a lead gen too. So I'm sure, for someone like you, with your expertise, like you can publish a book, you can do really well. But yeah, just check on Amazon if there's other books similar to the topic selling well. That'll tell you that there's demand for it. And then just, if you feel like you can write it, or maybe you want to work with a ghostwriter so you don't have to write it yourself, but you're still like, talking to them, working with them. So the ghostwriter is just like relaying the information that you have, right? But either way, I mean, that's what I'll probably start with,
How is it working with a ghostwriter? Like how, they kind of pull the information out of you, I've heard. Like because they know the format and how it should look and feel, right? So they almost kind of like extract that information from you in a way.
Yeah. It can really suck, or it can be really good, depending on like if you hire a good ghostwriter or a bad one. But in general, it's a lot of back and forth, but it's pretty good. I mean, if you hire a good one, they know what they're doing. So they're just going to ask you a few questions here and there. You review it. If you want to make some revisions, they'll do it for you. Typically, you can create a full, so like if you're doing like a full-length nonfiction book, 150 pages or so, it's going to take about a month or so to do it.
It's not bad, though.
It's not bad.
If you think about it,
Yeah.
Like, not bad. I mean, a month. In the back of my mind, I'm like, oh man, it'd take years to write a book,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for what you're trying to do, you know. But like I said, there's different topics. There's a lot of genre that you don't need a college degree, or you don't need crazy experience to write about. For you, yeah, maybe, you know, like, because it's your brand that you're trying to represent, right? So maybe you want to spend a little more time, you know, making sure it's good. But there's a lot of books that you can kind of casually try out, like coloring books. You know, a lot of my students publish coloring books, and those are just fun books to create, right? So you don't need a college degree for that. You don't need years of experience. You know, you just,
Yeah, that's super cool. All right, Sean. So what's the big goal? What are you trying to do? What's the game plan now with Royalty Hero and what you're doing? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
So for me, I just want to keep, like, you know, I don't know if I want to build a company that's like huge with a bunch of employees, like, you know, kind of what we talked about. I'm not sure if that's what I want in my life, but I do love the aspect of the freedom that I have, and I do want to help our students kind of achieve the same thing. So I think the goal is kind of help the students get what I have, which is just like, you know, if you can get, like, if I can help people to do a couple thousand a month, or just like even 10K a month, even more, you know, we got students doing a lot more, but from this business, then that can absolutely change their life. And, you know, we're trying to help as many students do that. So
yeah. What's the goal for student count in the long run?
Student count, I'm not sure.
Thousands of people.
As many. Yeah, we're at like 860 members now.
How long have you been going?
The course probably like 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been going for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. With Josiah from day one?
No, Josiah from year 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been going slow, and it was slow in the beginning, and it's kind of picking up nowadays. The marketing side of the course is something that we got to figure out, because like marketing a book and marketing a education program is like completely different. You know? And we're dealing with, like, we did a lot of low ticket offers, right, with books, but now with courses it's high ticket, you know, or mid ticket, I guess. So we're trying to figure it out.
Yeah. How is that going? Like, do you see, you basically got it to what, 500 people before Josiah and Nick kind of came in?
Yeah, I was like half of this.
Okay.
So to be completely honest, like organic sales is huge, you know, for me, because I had a YouTube presence, and I'm kind of the authority in the publishing space, or at least for Amazon KDP, which is kind of a small niche, you know. But organic traffic from YouTube alone just brings in so much sales. And now we're trying to crack like the paid ads and those kind of things, like doing the whole webinars and running ads and all that.
Yeah. Are you having fun with that?
It's fun. It's challenging though.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like learning a whole new aspect of business. And once again, like I was a one-person business before this, right? Like I had my own program and, you know, Amazon KDP and all that. But now it's like we're dealing with all these people with New Reach. So it's been an interesting experience, and it's learned a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're with a good group though.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, phenomenal group of people.
Yeah.
Well, you have to tell Josiah I said hello.
It will do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Where can people find you? How do you want them to get a hold of you? What if they want to join your program? You know, what do they do?
Yeah, so just look me up by my name. So Sean Dollwet. Sean is SEAN. Or if you look up like Amazon KDP, my videos will show up. But from there, like if you want to join the program, there's a link in the bio.
Cool.
In any YouTube video.
Cool. I'll put all your information down below too, so everybody can reach out to you and find you.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you being on, man. We'll have to bring you on when you're at 2,000 people.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Come on again, of course.
It was fun.
Hey, if you're still watching, definitely like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode.